This episode we start from the marina in Lagos, where we say goodbye to our friends who travelled with us on Arc Portugal. We cross the Gulf of Cadiz and then visit the city of Cadiz before a spectacular sail through the Strait of Gibraltar. We hug the Spanish coast for a couple of months before sailing onto our winter berth at Cartagena, where the weather is always shorts and t-shirts. We even manage a short trip to Ibiza in October. But first, back to Portugal, where you find us anchored in the Algarve River. We begin this journey in the Algarve and the beautiful anchorage of Alvor. It's a quiet, peaceful bay with a cool evening breeze. Excellent for kite surfing. Our next stop is a little different. Albufeira is party town, well into the evening sundowners. The next day, its hatches open to cool the boat. It is officially hot. Our plan is to find our way up the lagoon to Faro and then take Ferrol out of the water while we go back to England for a couple of weeks. It means navigating through some quite shallow water. But first, we have to get through the entrance.
So you can see we're just skirting around the edge of this shallow bit here. It's not too shallow for us, it's just that if it's rough weather or the wrong time of the tide it can get rough in there, but it's okay at the moment. So I'll cut the corner a little bit, pick up this leading line and then come in to our nice little lagoon area there. We'll probably anchor somewhere up here.
It was a bit of a shock being greeted by the police, but it was just to make sure we missed the barge laying cables. Phew. Then a beautiful evening with just the wildlife. A beautiful morning. We are going through the nature reserve on our way up to Faro, where we're going to have the boat lifted. It's absolutely glorious. I mean, when we come back after doing the maintenance, I think we want to stop here for a couple of days, don't we? And just take the dinghy out and just have a look around. It's lovely. We've got little beaches all over the place, little boats, people doing fishing. Meanwhile, we're on our way to buoy number 23. It's quite a difficult navigation to get into the yard, so they're going to come out and meet us and guide us in. And there it is, buoy 23.
The other side fenders and rope.
The escort is essential. The river is quite wide, but not very deep.
This is properly shallow now. It really is just a tiny, tiny stream. It's amazing there's enough depth for us. We're following the boat, just staying dead in the middle, showing 0.2 under the keel.
It's an ideal spot for our flight home. I'm always nervous at this point. You never know what you'll find below the waterline. But all is well. In fact, she looks quite good. And because we're going away, we cover her up to protect her from the sun. A week later and Steve is flying back. Lots of general maintenance to do, mixing the gel coat, painting the prop, and really important, changing the anodes. There's more of how to do that in Steve's technical corner. Oh yes, and the anti-fouling. Works fast, that man. Beautiful. Thanks, Steve. The chart shows the whole area around the marina as being on dry land. At low tide, you can see why. It's a 5-minute walk into Faro. It really is a lovely town. Next day, it was back to work. First, revive the dinghy. Oh, it's like a dead body. Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. I've had enough. I did eventually manage to blow it up, but first I went for a trip around the marina. Some of the boats have been in Bruce's yard for years. Really. This is a house. Paint dry, prop clean. It was time to go sailing. The yard makes sure you get out safely by guiding you through the shallow bits, but then for us it was back to Gibraltar and a night at anchor. First, Farrell needs a wash.
The teak are good wet down, it's the best thing for it. It's dried out a little bit in the month that we've been sat in the yard. It's had a bit of fresh water on it, but nothing like a good bit of salt water for the teak. It does it good. Doesn't do anything else good, but it does that good. And look, the lovely spot we're in, that's Gibraltar over there, all Heo to that side. There's a big national park here, this big lagoon, and the other side of those sand dunes at Gibraltar is the ocean and some nice beaches. So we'll have a little look over there tomorrow. It's the weekend, so I think all the Portuguese will come down, but it's you know, it's not somewhere you can get to by land. You can only get to it by boat, so don't get too busy. The plan this morning was to get the ferry across to Cadiz, so we were going to go into the marina, which is somewhere over there, but as you can see, can't actually see anything at the moment, so I don't think we'll be doing that. Looks like these guys here are fishing, so maybe that's the thing to do instead.
All swimming. It cleared up a bit, so we took the dinghy to the beach, but it was really cold. Maybe tomorrow. The next day was sunny and bright, so we brought Farrell into Rota Marina for the night and caught the ferry. She'll be fine. There are other ways to get across the bay, but we settled for the slow boat. And then we met a smiley face, or two. Cadiz is a bit touristy, but still very pretty and very Spanish. Okay, so this is probably for the tourists, but they're good, aren't they? You don't get buskers like this very often. and when we got back to the marina, a magnificent sunset. The next stop on our journey is Babate. We had a good breeze and some history.
So we're heading east now. It's a lovely sunny day, blue skies. We've got about 15 knots of breeze across the decks, just running with the wind. I did have the main out on a preventer to start with without the Yankee, but even with the preventer on, it's banging around a little bit, and you're getting this bit of roll. It's really because of this. It's not a big swell, but it's the period. It's probably about 3 seconds. It's quite short, and it's coming through and making things a little bit rolly. So we're a little bit better off with the Yankee poled out, and we're doing quite nicely now, 5 knots downwind. We're approaching a little bit of water here, which is quite famous. Anyone that's been to London and been to Trafalgar Square will know Nelson's Column's in the middle. Probably a lot of Londoners wouldn't know, though, that the bit of water that's talking about, Trafalgar, is there. That is Cape Trafalgar. So that's where Lord Nelson came down with his fleet, and I think it was a joint Spanish and French armada there at the time, and he went through the middle, did different tactics to normal, and it was a good battle to win for him, though not that good because he died. That is the one where he got shot by a French musketeer and died that night. So somewhere around there it would have been the Kiss Me Hardy moment. Good.
Anchoring is so much easier with a windlass. Ours is hydraulic, so it doesn't use our battery power, which is great because we always go down to about 60% on our housebank after a night at anchor. But with the engine on to get us out of the harbour, the alternator is putting a lot of power back in before the solar takes over. There are quite a few tankers on our way out to sea, but don't worry, these are anchored. Soon we're on our way and poling out the Yankee. It's a lovely bright day, so time to relax and sail.
So we're slowly making our way down the coast. The reason we timed our exit for 10 o'clock was that we're trying to catch the best of the tide through the Straits of Gibraltar. It's not much of an issue going east because the tide runs that way almost all the time. It's because it's not really that tide dependent. It's mainly due to the evaporation from the Med, just water from the Med, and it filling up from the Atlantic. But the tide does make a little bit of a difference, and there's springs at the moment, so it should help us if we get the timing right. At the moment we're just an hour and a half before, so it's going our way, and it'll stay that way until 5 hours after high tide. So that's 6 o'clock our time. The GPS has us coming in a bit after that, 7 or 8, but we're going quite slowly at the moment. There's not a lot of wind. I'm pretty confident going by the forecast and by the statistics from the table here, because this is where we're going. And around Tarifa, it says in the pilot book here that they record over 30 knots of wind on 300 days a year. So we're pretty confident of getting a good westerly breeze through there and the speed picking up. So due to form, winds come up quite nicely. We're still just on the headsail, but straight downwind, so we're poled out and we're doing 7 knots, so can't complain about that. In the sunshine here, Judy's doing her Spanish.
Two bebés agua.
Two babies agua.
Water?
Babies like water?
No.
No, okay.
I'm learning Spanish.
All right.
8 knots we're sailing now through the Straits of Gibraltar. It is the best sailing day ever. Over there is Spain, wonderful. But over here, that's Africa. Amazing.
Well, we're flying in. Very exciting. Lots of ships. There's a couple of fishing boats. This guy here is just in front of me. He's got his nets out by the look of it, so I'm not going to come out the back of him.
This is quite a busy place to come into. It's a staging post for tankers waiting to get into the Med. Fortunately, most of them are anchored, so it's just a matter of weaving through. The British waters are quite distinct. Inside the purple line. Our anchorage is just outside, so technically it's part of La Linea Marina. But we get an excellent view of the rock from here. I can't wait to go sightseeing. We made this trip several times during our stay here, so you'll see my t-shirt change colour.
Where we're anchored is actually in Spain. So in order to get into Gibraltar, we have to cross the border. And that's where we're going now.
Here is the red one. And now it turns to green. I just thought I'd mention that. It's an amazing view from the top of the cable car, and the monkeys are obviously used to having the tourists here. Climbing right to the top is another stretch.
I know, well done for getting up there first. I'll make it.
This is possibly the oldest lookout, dated back to the 12th century. And this is the Windsor Suspension Bridge, a gift for photographers and remarkably unscary.
I'm usually a little bit wary of suspension bridges because I don't like heights. This is a little bit wobbly, but look at the view.
We struggled to find the bridge because it's not on the main tourist path, but it was worth the walk. And as the sign shows, 7.5 double-decker buses in length. Why do we measure things in buses? It's very British. The trail took us here, siege tunnels dating back to the 18th century. The exhibition is frighteningly realistic.
So whose is it? It's him.
It's that big man there.
Halt! Who goes there?
St Michael's Cave is an amazing grotto of stalagmites and stalactites.
I did not expect this.
They even hold concerts here, which I'm sure are amazing and very atmospheric.
big ships in the mist.
The mist here is called the Levanta, and it comes occasionally in the early morning. When it cleared, we got back to business. One of the things about marinas is you usually moor next to other boats. What first struck us about Lady Gollum is that she's turquoise. And then we met the owner, Teresa, and we began to suspect a theme. Teresa is an international lawyer, her husband Targ, a compliance financier.
I think Targ, very similar to me, kind of realised quite early on in the careers that we had that we've kind of achieved what we wanted. And we felt that if we stayed longer, you know, being in our, Targ was like 30 around the time, I was late 20s or mid 20s. If we stayed any longer, we'd get trapped in the race and we'd get the mortgage and we'd get everything. And so we were kind of looking to leave anyway. So it wasn't such a big leap for us.
So how will you make money?
So we've got some money saved up and in the bank. So we I mean, that's the point. We were at a stage in our lives where we realised we were very lucky to kind of have the freedom to decide what we would want to do, but knew that we wanted to do something completely different.
And this is completely different. They bought Lady Gollum in an auction, and she's impressive.
We don't often moor next to something that's out trumps us in pretty much every regard for that. I mean, this boat is pretty awesome as a seagoing boat, isn't she?
That's why we fell in love with her. Yeah.
When everything is finished, Lady Gollum can sail anywhere.
The dream destination for the sailing is the South Pacific.
Yeah.
And that's so much of it. The Marquesas, the Tuamotus.
I mean, we have a boat that's much too big for us, for any two reasonable people to take on, but she will take us to places, and so we need to take advantage of that and not just potter about in the Med. We need to go to some very remote places where we would otherwise not be able to get to.
The next day we faced a bit of a swell leaving the marina, but we had good wind for sailing.
Just tighten the hallies a little bit because I loosen them off overnight. I normally do. Very close to the wind, so.
We love our high-cut Yankee, but it does make it difficult to reach the leech tape. Good thing Steve's supple. A quick sailing lesson for Millie and we're off. Much of the coastline is beautiful, but then there's this, a lot of plastic. These polytunnels house most of Europe's tomatoes. Time to tack, and I'm not looking for sympathy, but sometimes it would be nice just to press a button.
Oh, he's turning starboard now. Keep going. And now, Millie, come now. Well done.
Work done, time to enjoy the view.
So Millie, which do you prefer, sailing or motoring?
Reading.
Reading. Okay.
I don't mind either, so long as I can sit in the sun and read.
Or sunbathe. When we bought the boat in Amsterdam, I sent the girls this picture to show there was space to lie in the sun. Turns out there's plenty. One thing I've always said I'd do is dive off the boat.
Get up.
But it's not that easy.
Dive.
It is long.
I did it.
So here it is, a nice gentle anchorage on the Costa del Sol. Who'd have thought? Look at that.
So this is it, we've arrived in Cartagena. This will be our winter base. You can see there you've got two breakwaters we just go between, and then there's sort of a bit of a harbour before you get to the marina, which is the one on the right that we're going to YPC. Looks lovely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. There's a fort up at the top of the hill there I've been looking at, so that's one climb I'll do, I think. And the town ahead.
So it's the right hand of the two marinas. There's plenty of space in there, so we can just drop the sail as we come around.
Okay. Finding it difficult to see over this bimini. I'll have to work out how to do that. Get myself a little bit higher.
We floated in at about 3 knots. Plenty of time to get the main inside the harbour wall. That's always useful to know if we're ever coming back in bad weather in the winter. When we arrived, so did help from one of our new neighbours. Thank you. And a finger berth. Things are looking up.
Ideally we'd keep cruising till about November, not least because September, October are two of the best months to cruise in the Med once the crowds have gone and the silly prices that you get in some of the marinas, certainly here in the Western Med, have dropped down to reasonable levels. And of course you can just keep cruising all winter, but you do get some pretty bad weather coming through. This lightning was a couple of nights ago, and it had torrential rainstorm and hailstones the size of marbles. It wasn't just a quick shower either. This was something that went on all night, caused a lot of flooding in the area, and dropped a hell of a lot of water. Enough to fill the dinghy almost to the top. I had to bail out with a bucket before I could tip it up to get the rest of it out. And that's added a few jobs to the list that I've had. We had a hatch with a little annoying drip in it, and actually looking at the teak decks, you can see down here as the deck dries out, the bits that are slow to dry out are the bits where the water's getting through, maybe in the caulking, and might need looking at. So I'm going to recork that bit during the winter. It's going to be another job to add to the list, and we can it gave us a chance to explore Cartagena as well. One of the reasons we picked here is that it's an interesting place inland, and there's some good places to go to that are quite close to here offshore. I mean, we could might even get across to Ibiza during the winter. It's just an overnight sail to there, and there's a little inland sea just north of here as well we might want to visit. Before that though, we've got some family coming out next week, the whole family, so that's going to be great.
The family with us for a week, and their priorities are clear.
It's not all about sunbathing.
Sunshine.
Go.
My mum decided she'd rather go ashore by dinghy, so we found a sandy beach around the corner.
Oh wait, there's rocks here though.
And is it called a string?
Yeah.
No. No?
It's called a painter, not string. I blame the parents.
Nothing wants to go to look out.
And after a long day's sailing, time for Spanish tapas.
Just in his mouth.
He's not so sure, but the others love it.
Millie's favourite, what are these?
Just the best food in Cartagena.
There is a real sense of history here, and a lot of excavation still going on. The jewel in the crown is the recently rediscovered Roman amphitheatre.
It's quite incredible, isn't it? 7,000 people could sit here. We've still got the stage. Some of the columns at the front and the back. Amazing.
It's pretty mind-blowing being in here. 2,000 years ago this was last looked like this, but it's actually only been in the last 20 years that they've brought it back to this, because it's been built on so many times. It's what you get the history of the place as you walk through the corridors leading up to here.
If you look at this picture, you can see these steps in the bottom right-hand corner. A similar picture from just 26 years ago shows how over the past 2,000 years the town has been built up on top of the amphitheatre, and the steps were being used every day. Amazing. It was only in 1997 that archaeologists started to rediscover what lay beneath, and the beautiful amphitheatre was brought back to life.
Oh my gosh, look. The person on the balcony. Imagine having one of those flats in the 60s with an awful view of loads of other flats, and then come 1991, you've got a view of the gorgeous Roman amphitheatre.
What she should do, she should rent it out as an Airbnb. That would get some money in.
As part of the excavation, archaeologists have left a section which shows the layers of building materials. Ornate Roman carvings used as footings for the next generation of buildings.
Gladiadores y bailarines, desembarco, circo, tal, lo que en estos 10 días habitus.
Coincidentally, we arrive as the annual Roman festival begins. 10 days of marches through the town, which includes bands, stage plays, and a lot of dressing up.
While we've been spending time with family, which has been lovely, the marina's really been filling up. But one boat has always stood out for me, and it's that one, the wooden boat over there. It's owned by a man called Tim, who's lived here for a long time. So we're going to go and talk to him.
She's a cutter-rigged yawl designed by Guy Thompson, who was quite a well-known marine architect in the 60s.
Yeah, and the yawl, do you find that good? I mean, I think it's a good idea, a yawl rather than a ketch, just to have.
Yeah.
You know, that. How do you find it to sail?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's very, very comfortable to sail. 3 of the sails look after themselves. I've got the boomed staysail, the mizzen behind me. Doesn't really stop anything happening. It stabilises the boat beautifully. So yeah, I mean, it's the first yawl I've sailed, but I love it.
You have got to have your wits about there, haven't you? Because you've got quite a low boom. You've got that club-footed staysail that can, both of which could wipe you off the deck at any minute.
Yeah, I mean, she's not a boat you tack in often, or you take precautions if you're on a jibe point because of that, of course. But you do that anyway. But certainly, she's not a boat to be heading upwind in short legs. You do it in big legs generally. And she's happy doing that.
Yeah. But you have bought a wooden boat now. Pretty much all of us that have looked at boats have been sort of wooed by wooden boats, us included. We looked at a couple of wooden boats. Most of us haven't got the kahunas big enough to actually buy one, and you've done it. And not only that, you bought a wooden boat, but a varnished wooden boat.
Yeah, I think that's true. And if you'd have asked me while I was varnishing her in February and 50-mile-an-hour winds in Guisson in France, then I might have had a different view. But it was 2 weeks. Sanding and varnishing. I think I'm up to 14 sanders now I've had to buy because they just burn out or you need a different one. But no, a lot of people give up and go for paint.
I said when we sailed in here that I wanted to visit a fort at the top of the hill on one side of the marina.
A precarious path.
It is a precarious path.
So we took a climb. It's possible we went the wrong way.
There's a path here.
So what you're saying is this is where we should have come?
Yeah, this is the path. That is a climb. We made that up.
That was more fun.
The path did lead somewhere, but the fort turned out to be a 19th century structure which I guess very few people come to now.
I'm not sure how we get round it though. I don't really fancy walking across that.
Yeah, that's all been washed away.
And it's also possible the storm of a few days ago washed away the best approach.
Here, I think this was a path, and now it isn't. It's all got washed away.
Yeah, there's not much left of that. Should be able to, if we can get to the bottom of it, there's probably some Roman coins to be had.
Yeah, I think I'll bring my snorkel for those. It's a bit freaky. Yeah, well, it's a train track, I reckon, or some kind of track for mining. I think this is how you get to the low road. lining of any sort? What do you think it is then?
No, it's just a way of getting through, isn't it?
It's not on the main tourist trail for sure, but if you are into war history and fancy exploring, this is great.
It does look a bit freaky. I mean, it's clearly disused. What on earth do they use this place for?
Well, it's got to all be military, but yeah.
Yeah.
Very odd that they've got all these tunnels. I suppose, oh yeah, wow. Okay.
No, get out.
Yeah, of course. Jesus, it's dark.
Yes, I think I might give this one a miss. As long as it's out, I'm happy-ish.
It's dark.
It's too dark.
Take your sunglasses off. Helps. Oh God. Well, I see what you mean. You must have trodden on something.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so weird.
Oh my God, it looks like a prison ground.
I reckon this is where they had their big guns. So if anyone came round the corner here trying to take Cartagena,
Gone.
gotcha.
Doesn't help.
How to climb out of a gun emplacement.
How not to?
There we are. How to get out of a gun place elegantly. Not.
Mind your head.
Okay.
This is rock climbing.
Yeah. This is how we abuse our children on holiday. Oh!
Back to the festival, and this is the celebration of Hannibal's march over the Alps with his elephants. And this is the entire history of the battles for Cartagena over the past 2,000 years or more. There were a lot of spectators for this night, but still you can get a place on the top of the castle for free. And despite the fighting below, it is all good fun.
One of the fun things about our winter berth here in Cartagena is waking up in the morning and looking out of the hatch and seeing what you're going to find. Today it's the Queen Victoria, one of the more stylish of the cruise liners that we get out here. They usually arrive about sort of 7 in the morning, and amazingly you don't hear them. It's only really when the tannoy starts going to tell the passengers what's going on that day that you know they're there. So this is the one for today. I did Google her this morning. She takes 2,000 passengers and has 1,000 staff, so it's going to be a bit packed in town today. I think it's a day to do something else.
So we decided to go sailing. First step, get out of the port.
But it's pretty busy out here this afternoon, actually, more so than we've had before. We've got 2 tugs now coming out to, I think, guide this tanker in. It's quite fun to watch. Meanwhile, I've turned to starboard so that we're not in the way.
Well, it's very high out of the water. You can see his prop going around. He's obviously not got anything on board. Tug's got him now. Let's take him in. It was going slowly and just sat out here when we came out, and you sort of just think they're anchored, because they almost always are. Lots of them out here anchored. So we had a quick look on AIS and saw he was doing 7 knots. So Judy got a course to get out of the way. He's going to head into the industrial port, which is just on the outskirts of Cartagena here.
Then sails up and we're underway. We left just after lunch with enough supplies for a 10-day trip. As we were warned, Ibiza is expensive. The pilot book showed us the best places to go for shelter, and our decision was to make a stop just round the corner from Cartagena first, then go across. So here's our route from Cartagena to Ibiza. Tonight we're anchoring round the corner in Cabo de Palos. Then tomorrow we'll sail overnight either to Ibiza or to Formentera, depending on the wind. Either way, we plan to get there by mid-morning. Both anchorages offer good protection as the wind is predicted to be coming from the southwest. Back to today, and it's perfect conditions, and we have some friends come and join us. Just a couple of dolphins this time, and they didn't stay long, but they are always welcome and exciting to see. The coastline is rugged and mountainous and wonderfully relaxing. So much so that we got a bit carried away playing cards. When the light faded, the wind dropped, and that made it quite tricky to jibe.
Just a matter of dragging the clue out the right side, and then the wind will get it and take her away. There we go. In stronger winds it goes through quite nicely, but we haven't got much. I think we're down to about 7 knots of true wind now. Might have to start the motor for the last little bit in.
We don't like arriving anywhere at night, but who would have missed this?
It was pitch black by the time we got in here last night, but it was worth it because you can see it's a lovely bay, nice and sheltered. Got a good headland that's sort of sticking out there that's sheltering us from the swell, which is why we wanted to come all the way around here. But it's not ideal coming in somewhere in the dark, somewhere you don't know. It's quite disorientating, always in the dark. You can't see distances that well. And there's little lights here. There's little lights that were on some of the buoys that were actually, I think, on the swim buoys here, marking the swimming area. And you don't sort of know what they are. You can't see the distance of them. It looks like they might be some sort of navigation buoys, but they weren't.
With the morning comes paddleboard practice. What we really wanted to find out, though, is not whether it's safe to swim, though this is a consideration, but where exactly we had dropped the anchor, because by anchoring at night, we'd got it stuck under a rock.
So we're going to try and jiggle it out using the weight of the boat. So I'm going a little bit forward, and Steve's at the front looking down. You can actually see the anchor because it's not very deep here,
and it seems to be stuck between two rocks. So we're going to be jiggling backwards and forwards, I think. Right, so going forward fraction. Okay, now we're going back a bit. It's a matter of giving it a blast, really. That's probably enough. Ooh, dear me, dear me, dear me. Okay, done it. Oh wow, okay. Well, that was quite good. That happened quite quickly, excellent. Yeah. So now we'll get the anchor up. Brilliant. Woo. Thank goodness for that. And we're off. Again, the wind is in our favour and we're moving along happily at about 6 knots. The wind was forecast to decrease, which it did, so we decided to keep full sail but add a preventer, and we hope to sail like this through the night. But as the sun dropped, so did the breeze, to nothing. So we had to motor. But it still made quite a picture. At dawn, the sun came up along with the dolphins. Then the breeze. We were on target for the island of Formentera. So this coastline is the southern part. Amazing rock faces and caves all along it. And when we arrive, there's hardly anyone here. I like that.
Yeah, I think they've got every single different type of rock here. We've had a nice evening walk and we've got a little bit more exercise to come because you'll notice there is a lack of outboard on this dinghy.
I'm never going to get in.
Judy's trying to get in the dinghy, which is not her favourite thing to do.
I'm just so bad at this.
I don't know why. Yeah. Wrap the rope round there so you're holding on to it so the boat doesn't go away. That's it. And then you get to get on there. So yes, we are now rowing. Very well done. Yes, very elegant. We are now rowing everywhere on this trip because another thing has died on the outboard. That's 3 things now. Things are breaking faster than I can fix them. So I think that's curtains for our little outboard. Meanwhile, let's row.
Our next stop is Ibiza town, about 3 hours sail. For the first time this trip, the wind was ahead of us, so a chance to put up all 3 sails. Yahoo! I also planned to do a bit more paddleboarding. Tightening the leeches still involves a bit of gymnastics, but there's nothing better than a steady Yankee.
It is nice with a cutter rig to have all the sails up. And they say gentlemen shouldn't sail to winds, but I think in this boat I quite like it.
Between the two of us, we have this tacking thing nailed. 3 3 years we've been doing this and finally getting it sort of right.
So I'm just lying in my favourite spot on the ship, out on the bowsprit, my favourite view as well. And I don't mean my feet, I mean the lines of the boat that you can see from here. Good curves, I think, Hans Christians.
Oh, there you are. I've slowed us down, so we're ready to anchor pretty much any time soon.
Better get up there then.
Ibiza town is the biggest town on the island and we've never been here before.
There's a bit of a hill to walk up to get into here. And there's a big wall. It looks like this is the way through into the old town. Ooh, it's a bit spooky.
But there are lights, it's fine. Lighting the way.
God, this is a thick wall.
A bit more.
It's like being back in Gibraltar. Okay, that's not what I expected. We're still outside.
Oh, you thought it was inside the wall?
I thought that was going inside the wall.
No, it's sideways, yeah. Yeah, this is good. Let's go this way.
Well, that's a nice sunset anyway.
Beautiful.
Nice view of the sunset. I just thought we'd appear through the wall in the old town of Ibiza. Not quite. Our boat is just around there, behind the hill there. It's going to be a bit dark at the boat by the time we get back.
Does have some lovely views. It all began peacefully, anchored outside Ibiza town. More paddleboard practice. Steve is getting quite good.
So this is the beauty really of the paddleboard. You're standing up and lovely clear water like this. You just get a fantastic view right through the water. It's a nice still sunny morning here, which is just as well. It's not easy to paddleboard when there's a bit of a swell going on. The boat's swaying around a little bit in just the little bit of wake from the ferries that go past here. It's still nice and quiet.
There's no wind, we're pretty much sitting over the top of our anchor, which is just here. We managed to get it in a little bit of sand, which is good. Judy's having a rest on the paddleboard.
It's lovely. Relaxing.
It is lovely. It's a very nice bay, this. It's just round the headland, this headland here, from where all the marinas are. And the marinas are all about €70 a night plus for us. So nicer to be in here, all in all. And one funny thing, if you look closely on the hillside up here on the chart, it always has distinguishable marks on headlands, and it has these 3 windmills that you can just about see up there. Wouldn't really call them distinguishing marks anymore. A bit of building's gone on since they did the charts, I think.
As we set off for Santa Eulalia further up the coast, I'm taking a break on what's become our favourite place on the boat, Bowsprit, Ibiza. We did row ashore further up the coast where there's a lovely promenade and a quiet anchorage. Off-season, the beach is almost deserted. It was our last chance for a meal ashore for a while, as we knew the wind was getting up. But it is so nice to be in an uncrowded restaurant. Sure enough, for the next 24 hours it was quite windy, but because it was blowing offshore, we were safe in the anchorage.
The wind we were expecting has arrived. It's gusting 40 knots in the anchorage this morning. We were in a good spot, we knew it was coming, so we found a nice sheltered spot. But I have put the bridle on. I know we talked about anchoring quite a lot in the last episode, so I'll make it brief. But this is what we have here. You might just about be able to see there that I've got a special little hook that goes on the chain that I can attach the bridle to. So you slip that over the top, and I've got it coming back and round the Samson post here, and I let a little bit more chain out so that just hangs loose. So our big Delta should be able to cope with this, no problem at all. It's only really swell that really compromises your anchor if you've got a decent anchor. We've got hardly any fetch, so I'm not too worried about the wind. I think we're fairly secure. Might need to rescue my shorts before they blow away though.
The wind in the whole region was predicted to increase, so we planned our passage quite carefully. We left the protection of the anchorage in an early lull and should have a good wind on the beam, taking us through quite a narrow gap between Ibiza and Formentera. But then we faced a powerful headwind on the trip back to Spain. It's not ideal, but it was the best opportunity to sail for the next couple of weeks, so we made the choice to go. Within an hour or so, we left the shelter of the land, and there is quite a swell. The wind is also picking up to around 25 knots. We put in a couple of reefs from the start, which is just as well as the gap between the islands is quite shallow, and that can make for a rough ride.
It is pretty choppy going through this gap. We've got 17 metres now, but it went down to about 7 metres under us. So, pretty special space.
We'd already changed our route, opting for a bigger gap further down than we'd originally planned, because the wind was stronger than predicted and in a slightly different direction.
One of the good things about the long-keeled boat is that they track pretty well. There's fairly extreme conditions with the swell that we've got here to get the track on our own, but I've turned the auto helm off and I'm just going to lock off the binnacle here where I've got where I want her. The key to that is to get the sails well balanced, obviously. The sails are balanced, and you can tell that on this. You can't really tell on the wheel because it's hydraulic steering, so you don't get the feedback from the wheel. But you can have a look just at the gauge and make sure that the rudder's nice and centred, which it is now. So hopefully with that locked off, she should just now track nicely. She did in the middle of Biscay at one time. I thought I had auto helm on and it was off. And we sailed all night. It was about midnight when I did that, and by 6 in the morning I noticed we were off by about 1 degree, and trying to bring the auto helm round wasn't doing it, and then I noticed it was switched off. She had tracked all night on her own. So yeah, it's a nice feature of a long-keeled boat.
Once on the other side, we can see the waves crashing on the shore behind us. We'd planned to take the shortest route to Spain, but the change in wind direction meant we had to aim further south, which was going to take a few hours longer. This isn't exactly what I had in mind when Steve said, let's go sailing in the Med, but hey, with a bit of appropriate music, it will be fine. Tacking in these conditions is a bit of a challenge, but it meant we could keep sailing and get to the coast by early evening. One of the problems of sailing at this time of year is you lose the light quite early. When the time came to wind in the Yankee, we hit a problem. The jury rig Steve had made a few months earlier failed, and we had a riding turn in the reefing line, so he had to bring the sail down by hand. Not easy in these conditions. That and the clew whipping out of the staysail made us a sorry sight as we motorsailed past Benidorm. What a sight. I know a lot of people come here for holidays, but I wasn't expecting quite as many hotels. I think they're hotels. Our nighttime destination is a little more remote, in an abandoned marina at the entrance to the Mar Menor. There is quite a specific route which is marked but very shallow. Then we had to turn off the route to get into the marina, and that was completely unmarked. First we had to negotiate the fish farm, which was not well lit, but we did eventually make it.
I hope so, yeah.
Okay, so we're going off on a little bit of a road trip up to Granada. We've hired a car. How much was this car?
£11.38 for 7 days.
So, and we think for £11 for a week, you think you'd get some tiny little thing, and this is what they gave us. It's amazing. Amazing people carrier Peugeot. So yeah, we're going to have a good time. We're going to maybe even do some skiing. So we'll see.
It's a 3-hour drive up to the Sierra Nevada, past the olive groves of the flatland, through the tunnels and up into the mountains. As we climbed higher, the scenery got more and more beautiful. And then the sight we'd been waiting for.
What's the exciting thing that I can see over there?
Hang on. Oh!
You can't see it on the camera really.
Just about snow on the mountains.
In there there's snow.
Just about snow. Yeah, we're getting there.
Snow on the mountains.
It's going to be lovely.
You might get some skiing after all.
You might get some skiing. We might get some skiing.
We might get
but really,
some skiing.
Steve might get some skiing.
Yes.
When we arrived, it did look like a ski resort. We were told this is the place to come for an early season. Except maybe not this year.
Come to the Sierra Nevadas, they said. Go skiing, they said. Well, we've come, but we can't actually even find where the ski slopes are. It's very misty. There isn't any snow. There's some drizzle, and there's lots of buildings. I mean, we sort of walked up this hill now for about 5 flights, and there's more buildings. And for as far as we can see, there's just more buildings behind it. So we can't even find the slopes. So I think we're going to go and have a pizza instead.
We also decided to head for Granada, stopping for a few locals to cross the road. And then the rain came, pouring down the streets of the town. You would have thought it would have kept people inside, but it didn't. Even out of season, this is the place to see. The Alhambra, which dates back to the 1st century. Since then, it's been a fortress, a palace, and is now one of Spain's most popular tourist attractions. And I can see why. The walk down from the Alhambra was another nice touch. Narrow streets paved in a tapestry of stonework similar to the ornations of the palace.
Raining, but it's lovely. What a nice place.
And at the bottom of the hill, a tapas bar.
So proper tapas, proper bar with meat hanging up and sherry. Love the sherry. And here we are. We're in Granada.
The next day, the rain had eased enough to go scrumping.
Can't reach them.
Do you think it's amazing though? I mean, you've got a whole street full of oranges. Where were they down here? I can get one. If they fell, I'd catch it and eat it.
There's certainly plenty of oranges in this part of the world. There's also plenty of spices and bags. I love bags. I used to love shopping until I lived on a boat. Now there's always that challenge of finding something we actually need that can fit into a relatively small space. In the morning, we were on a mission to find the lakes that feed the Alhambra. With all the rain, water is becoming a bit of a theme for us.
So this is the Dario River. I'm sure they've re-dammed it since the original, but it's an amazing feat to do that. Dam it here and have 6 kilometres of aqueduct, which is what they had to get it from here all the way to Alhambra.
The other attraction on our list is the King's Walk, which is through a canyon just west of Granada. I suspect that in years gone by, not so many precautions have been taken, but nowadays health and safety demands a hard hat.
That's why we need the hard hats. Julie doesn't like heights, but I think this is okay. It's a very solid walkway here. No movement. You don't mind looking down.
No, it's all right. I've got a barrier here. But it is a long way. And it's very windy. It's very windy. Just as you come around the corner, I just thought I'd let you know, going across the plank there, apparently that's optional.
Oh, we've got to do that one.
No, there's no barrier.
The path without a barrier is where passengers from the train used to get off to walk along the canyon. Back then, it was the only way across. The train line itself was built in 1860 and linked Malaga to inland Spain. Now there's another safe walk-through, but it's still not for the faint-hearted.
So I've got my hard hat on. It is very windy, but we're walking over this gorge. It's amazing. I don't ever like to go without something to hold me on, but it's great, it's great. I've been over that. Look, I've been over it.
For anyone wanting to do the walk, do book ahead and note that it's about an 8-kilometre hike with very few resting spots. On the way back to Cartagena, we stopped off at a butcher's, as you do just before Christmas. But this isn't just any butcher. This is an English butcher selling the finest British sausages.
And do the Spanish like them?
We're getting more Spanish coming in. I've done a few exercises where on a Friday, when the school's closing, I've taken out some trays of different flavoured sausages, just little cocktail sausages, and the school are quite happy to do that. And as a result of that, some of the children have never tasted an English sausage or British sausage, and some of the parents are now coming in, and it's word of mouth. So we'll be doing it again in the spring with little burgers, mini burgers, because the texture is totally different to a Spanish sausage.
And Steve, come here, because there's something that you wanted.
What have you found?
I have found a Christmas pudding.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, cool, we'll have that as well.
Christmas Day really did begin like this.
2, 3, Happy Christmas!
The water is a balmy 15 degrees. It feels considerably colder. But mulled wine takes the edge off, and then a barbecue. Turkey with all the trimmings. And of course, the sausage rolls.